This evening's themed debate is on the subject of culture and well-being. We shall now consider the first community evidence submission on the theme from Vital Old Kent Road. Can officers please bring forward the group's representatives? Thank you, sir. Thank you for attending this evening. You have 5 minutes to address the Assembly.
Thank you. Mark Brearley from Old Kent Road Business, KMET. Here with me tonight, John Hines, Sandra Persaud, Lewis Chaplin, 4 of us from amongst 300 members of the Vital OKR Association that's giving voice to the economy of our locality, an economy that provides livelihoods to around 10,000 people, a high proportion local. Please be aware that the Council's emerging plans are a threat to the jobs and well-being of many people in the Old Kent Road area, a challenge to its entrepreneurial culture. You are invited to reach out to us and learn more. We hope you will strengthen demands for further evolution of the plans away from its savage starting point. Our area's industrial economy, employing some 4,500 people, is most threatened. The base assumption was most could be swept aside. There have been signs of a change of approach of late. We strongly encourage more of that. Courier and delivery depots, hirers, repairers, ice cream vans, 57 construction-related businesses, 24 builders merchants, culture-related logistics and production, 16 volume printers, art and artisan production, hat makers, painters, sculptors, printmakers, carvers, leather workers, jewellers, cabinet makers, upholsterers, a dairy, butchers, fishmongers, commercial caterers and bakeries, breweries, 80 manufacturing businesses, including tin can makers, bespoke fabricators, joiners and metal workers, polishers, platers and coaters, tray makers. That's my business. Most want to stay and intend to grow. Similar businesses would come to the area if there was room. This is not a residual or shrinking economy, the reverse. It should not be brushed aside and forced to constrict, but it is threatened by your plans. Throughout the process towards the Old Kent Road AAP, there has been inadequate dialogue, scarce information, 2 years since the most recent open meeting for businesses. The only options explored at the options stage were ones that would decimate the economy. Detailed plans are being formed for parts of our area. In the OKR 14 area that includes Barclays Malt Street site, dozens of meetings between developers, consultants and Southwark. We hear of meetings with all designers involved with schemes, a model of all emerging schemes prepared, 3 consultant teams employed by Southwark. Yet businesses and smaller landowners have been told little, shown nothing, not much sign of Southwark Council people talking to us. Similar thin dialogue applies across the Old Kent Road area. Please, we want the conversation to commence properly. Most businesses support change in the area, understand that much must be achieved, but we need new developments to incorporate extensive, suitable space for the area's growing economy. Development that delivers, as well as housing, all that other space is possible. You, the local authority, needs to take that task seriously. Be bold, innovative and progressive. Battle hard for the objective of a truly mixed piece of city. Seize the remarkable opportunity. We sketched out a set of 20 requests to the Council, just a dozen to try on you now. A fuller consultation on the future of the Old Kent Road area, please, and of the key parts of the area, commencing urgently, with a published timetable for detailed and structured dialogue. A public commitment from officers and cabinet members to a series of area visits and on-site meetings that include a full range of businesses and others who are potentially affected. Activate the business network that was promised 8 months ago as a way to open up more systematic communication. Agree to push hard for creation of extensive new space for job-generating industrial and high street enterprises, weaving that in with new developments, including the Council's own. 2 more requests. Enable public discussion of options for each of the key chunks of the area with
Your time's up now, sir. Sorry about that. Now, would you like to ask a question to the relevant Cabinet member, which you are certainly entitled to? Do you want to ask a question to the relevant Cabinet member?
If we put these 20 requests, of which I've given you 4.5, can we expect a considered and careful and hopefully positive response?
Thank you very much, Mr. Braley, for coming along. Before answering your question as directly as I can, I'd just like to give you a bit of a teaser trailer, if I may, of what's going to be in the revised Old Kent Road Area Action Plan, which will be published on Tuesday of next week and going to Cabinet on the 12th of December. So as you know, we've been consulting for well over 2 years on the future of the Old Kent Road, and we're trying to meet a number of objectives. As we all know, we're in the grip of a real housing crisis in our borough and in our city, and we see the Old Kent Road as a location where we can deliver 20,000 new homes, a new town on brownfield land in central London. Central London, but better, is what we are aiming for. But at the same time, respecting and acknowledging the existing businesses that are on the Old Kent Road, but also the new businesses and new opportunities that we want to bring to the area, as well as making sure we've got the social infrastructure, the schools, the health centre, GP provision, open space provision, a much more pleasant environment on the Old Kent Road itself, stitching the neighbourhoods back together that had been rent apart by the Old Kent Road and the railway line, and very poor urban planning that took place in the 1960s following the bomb damage of the war. The reason why there's been such a pause since our last consultation is because we've been going thoroughly through the 1,300 consultation responses that we received, including from your organisation, from yourself and from your members. The previous consultation was on our preferred option, and we were due to do the next consultation on the final, the submission version. It then goes off to the planning inspector. But because of the substantial revisions we have made following that consultation, we've decided to do another 3 months of consultation, going back a step to the preferred option again, having that 3 months of detailed consultation that kicks off in December and runs through until March, to make sure that we get this right and that we don't repeat the mistakes of the planners of yesteryear. There's significant changes in terms of protection of industrial land. For example, we're redesignating as protected industrial land the Admiral Hyson Industrial Estate, which was de-designated in 2007. We are also going to retain the protected designation for the Glengall Industrial Estate and the old bottling factory on Ossory Road, the Gallywall Industrial Estate and the west side of Ormside Street and the Penarth Centre itself, to name but a few. We're also giving out real detail on how we can get residential, light industrial uses and other enterprise spaces, maker spaces mixed together so that we can try and meet all of the objectives that we have. Hopefully when you see the draft report when it comes out next week, you'll like a lot of what you read, but going to your point on engagement, send me the 20 points across, we'll meet, we'll work through them, and we'll get progress on as many of those as we can. But we are deadly serious about listening to people, getting in the changes that are needed to support existing businesses, but also help new businesses flourish. And as you say, there are 10,000 jobs in the area, and what we're aiming for is to get 20,000 jobs in the area, doubling employment, opening up opportunities for our residents, so that the significant changes in the Old Kent Road benefit our residents that are here today, as well as new people that will make Southwark their home, both for their home, but also a home for their new businesses as well.
Thank you for that, Councillor. Now, we have 5 minutes for members who wish to ask a question. I have Councillor Williams at the top of my list. I'm not sure whether he wants to ask a question or not, seeing he's made quite a statement. What do you think? Yes? You want to ask a question, dear? No? Yes? Right.
No, I apologise. Will you continue to work with us, Mark, to make this plan as good as we possibly can?
Okay. Next one on my list, Councillor O'Brien would like to ask a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for coming down and giving us that evidence, Mark. You might be aware there is a planning application coming forward for the old Mandela Way car pound. And interestingly, the latest version is a mix of residential plus also a commercial laundry. My question is, of your members, do you think there is a reasonable, or what percentage of those industries would be able to mix with a residential application as well?
Yes, a substantial proportion could, I believe, if it's designed right. The challenges are also, though, about which businesses can move without excessive stress and threats to their business. So the smaller, standalone, independent businesses are much more challenging to move around than branch businesses. So that's important to bear in mind. But if those issues can be addressed, I think there is a significant proportion of businesses that could be in a mixed development.
Councillor Al Samurai, you'd like to ask a question?
Thanks very much, Mark, for coming along and for explaining quite clearly how the process has been frustrating at times, but also the very real threat to our industrial heritage along the Old Kent Road. I know it's not always seen as glamorous, the Old Kent Road, but actually what happens there with the businesses is pretty special, and I'm very proud of it as a Southwark resident and councillor. I suppose my big fear is that the Old Kent Road becomes a kind of dormitory for people commuting into the city rather than the community and
this is a
culture
question
that is there now.
Yeah.
You said that there hadn't really been much dialogue. I just wonder, of the dialogue that there has been, what's your understanding of the offer that's being made to existing businesses? I mean, are people being told they have to relocate? I just wondered if you could explain a bit about what dialogue there has been.
Not much. I mean, we've heard of some businesses where money's talked about and discussions around the council purchasing, but that's very limited. Most businesses that I'm hearing from, the offer about the future is vague, unclear. There is not much dialogue or certainty about where we're all heading.
Councillor Barber, you'd like to ask a question?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. You said how many businesses you represented, but apologies if I missed it. How many employees do those businesses consider to be at risk?
Well, when we looked at the first, I don't know the answer for our members, because we've got 300 members and there's 1,000 businesses approximately. But when we did a review of the first stage of the plan, we reckoned it threatened about half of the economy of the area. That's reduced because of some of these revisions, and we haven't done a new add-up. We will be looking very carefully at the next version. But all that we're hearing indicates there is still a major threat.
Thank you, sir. If there are no further questions, I will thank you for you coming tonight, and I'll ask the officer to just escort you to the back. Thank you, sir.